Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me for another nature story time today. You might notice it looks a little bit different behind me than it normally does. I am down in Mexico. The Atlantic Ocean is behind me, and we're going to have an ocean-themed story time to go along with the setting. So enjoy the beach, enjoy the waves, enjoy the sounds. Hopefully you can hear me as we read our story today called Coral Reefs, a journey through an aquatic world full of wonder. The story was written and illustrated by Jason Chin. Ooh, look at all the different animals. For more than 400 million years, corals have been building reefs in the Earth's oceans. Corals may look like plants, but they are actually animals. Some are soft and sway back and forth in the water, while others, called hard corals, are rigid. Corals are made up of polyps, and most have hundreds of tiny polyps on their surface. Each polyp has stinging tentacles that it can extend to catch food. The polyps of hard corals build a limestone skeleton and live in indentations or cups along its surface. So you can kind of see the cups there. When a polyp is in danger, it can retract into its cup for protection. Hard corals are able to build their skeletons because of the remarkable partnership that they have with a type of algae. The algae live inside the polyp, and working together, the polyp and the algae build the coral's skeleton. So that's pretty cool. There are thousands of kinds of coral, and each species has a different shape and color. Some have intricate branches, while others grow in mounds on the ocean floor. When a coral's polyps die, they decay, but the skeleton remains and the corals can grow on top of it. Over hundreds of years, the coral piles up and spreads across the seafloor, eventually forming a living mountain called a coral reef. Corals may be small, but they are incredible builders. Coral reefs are the largest structures built by any animal on Earth. The Belize Barrier Reef is over 180 miles long. It's crazy. Coral reefs are home to thousands of plants and animals. There are so many species living in reefs that they are often called the cities of the sea. These aquatic cities grow in tropical waters around the world. They start close to shore and extend out into the ocean. Many of the relationships are between predator and prey. Corals eat plankton, tiny organisms that float through the water. The polyps use their tentacles to catch the plankton so they can eat it. But corals aren't just predators, they are also prey. Coral polyps retreat into their cups for protection, but that can't stop a parrotfish. Parrotfish eat the algae that live inside the coral polyps. They use their special beaks to break through the coral skeletons and gobble up the polyps inside. The chain doesn't stop there. Parrotfish are preyed on by larger fish like groupers and sharks. A series of species that eat each other, like the coral, parrotfish, and sharks, is called a food chain. There are many different food chains on the reef, and all together they make up the food web. Many species use the reef for protection. As the coral grows, it creates many cracks and crevices in the reef that make perfect hiding places for small fish. Squirrelfish use the reef for protection when predators, like the Nassau grouper, are on the prowl. In addition to evading predators, each species must also find food to survive. Moray eels have slender bodies that are perfectly adapted for navigating the narrow nooks and crannies of the reef. Hiding fish may be safe from groupers, but they still have to watch out for hungry morays. The sandy area between the reef and the shore is called a lagoon, and it is covered by beds of seagrass. The lagoon plays an important role in keeping the reef healthy. Pufferfish and seahorses are common in the lagoon. Many young fish take shelter in the seagrass before growing up and moving on to the reef. Rays visits the lagoon to hunt for shrimp and snails, and sea turtles eat the seagrass itself. Beyond the lagoon, corals start to appear, making the beginning of the reef. Groups of fish called schools can be found swimming over the reef. Fish swim in schools for protection, and sometimes different species, such as white grunts and porkfish, will swim together to make an even bigger group. By working together, schooling fish have a better chance of survival. Many species have developed unusual adaptations that help them survive. The scorpionfish barely resembles a fish, as it sits on the seafloor waiting to ambush its prey. Predators had better watch out too. On its back are spines filled with a painful venom, an effective defense. The frogfish goes fishing for its dinner. It changes color to blend in with its surroundings. Ooh, can you see that fish here? And dangles a special fin in front of its mouth to lure prey close. When an unsuspecting fish takes the bait, the frogfish attacks, and it rarely misses. The frogfish is one of the quickest fish in the ocean. The common octopus has a few uncommon adaptations. It can change the color and the texture of its skin to blend in with any environment. Being a master of disguise is perfect for hunting and hiding. I think octopus are pretty cool. If a predator does happen to find it, the octopus has a backup plan. It releases a cloud of ink that confuses its enemy. The scorpionfish, the frogfish, and the octopus are just a few of the many reef species with unique adaptations that aid in their survival. Oh. Sometimes different species work together to help each other survive. Many large predators, like tiger groupers, have a partnership with tiny fish called neon gobies. The groupers visit the gobies for cleaning. The gobies swim all over their customers, picking parasites and dead skin off their scales, gills, and fins. The groupers even let the gobies swim inside their mouths to clean their teeth. This arrangement works out well for everyone. The gobies get a free meal, and the groupers get a cleaning. At the end of the reef, the coral drops off dramatically into the depths. This is the reef wall, and beyond it is the open ocean. The tropical waters bordering reefs have very little life in them, making food scarce. Coral reefs, on the other hand, are like oases in the desert. They are teeming with life and provide feeding grounds for visitors. The largest fish in the world, the whale shark, visits the Belize Barrier every spring to feed on the microscopic eggs of spawning reef fish. More than 4,000 kinds of fish and thousands of other species have been discovered in coral reefs, more than in any other part of the ocean. But that's not all. Scientists believe that reefs are home to millions of species that haven't been discovered yet. Remarkably, this enormous quantity of life is squeezed into just a tiny fraction of the ocean. Coral reefs may be big, but they cover less than 0.5% of the total ocean floor. That's not very much at all. With so many species living in such a small space, it's no wonder coral reefs are called the cities of the sea. Like all cities, reefs are busy places, and they are full of thousands of different relationships. Many of these relationships are between predator and prey, while others are partnerships that benefit everyone. All of these relationships make coral reefs some of the most complex ecosystems in the world. Each species has its place in the system, and all of them depend on the reef builders for their home. The corals. Some extra information in the back here about the threat to coral reefs. Corals have bright, beautiful colors, but their colors aren't all their own. Most corals are actually pale, and the colors we see come from the algae that live inside them. When corals are under stress, they expel their algae and lose their color. Without the algae, most corals will eventually die. This is called coral bleaching, and it's becoming more and more common in the world's reefs. Corals are fragile creatures, and they face many threats that cause them to bleach out and otherwise imperil their survival. Some threats are natural, such as hurricanes. Others are human-made, such as pollution and overfishing. The biggest threats to reefs today is the rising levels of greenhouse gases, caused in part by the burning of fossil fuels. These gases are causing the world's oceans to warm up and become more acidic. Water that is too warm causes coral bleaching, and water that is too acidic makes it difficult for corals to build their skeletons. These threats are global, so the damage isn't isolated to a few corals here and there. Every coral in the world and the animals that depend on them are in danger. The prospects for reefs are gloomy. But there is a bright side. You can be part of the solution. Here are some things that you can do to help. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Every time something is made, energy is used, and most of that energy comes from fuels that generate greenhouse gases. If we can reduce the number of things we make, fewer greenhouse gases will be produced. You can participate by reducing the amount of things you buy, reusing the things that you already have, and recycling the things you don't need anymore. Conserve water. Water from our homes goes down the drain and often washes out to the ocean, bringing pollutants with it. Using less water means fewer pollutants will end up in the ocean. Leave the fish where they are. If you buy a new fish for your fish tank, be sure it wasn't taken from a coral reef. If you visit a reef, don't take any fish or coral home with you. Walk, bike, or take the bus. Greenhouse gases produced by automobiles endanger reefs. Consider walking, biking, or taking public transport instead of traveling by car. Educate yourself. This book is just a start. The more you understand about coral reefs, the better you will be able to help them. And this has a cool little diagram of the reefs. Ooh, and the polyps. It says, a remarkable partnership. The relationship between corals and the algae that live inside of them is one of the most remarkable on the reef. The algae, called zooxanthellae, are like plants. They convert energy from the sun into food. They share this food with their coral hosts, and in return, the corals share nutrients with the algae. The algae also help corals build their skeletons. Coral skeletons make up most of the reef structure, and it's the algae and coral working together that make the reef possible. More coral reef facts. The largest reef system in the world is the Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Australia. The most diverse coral reefs in the world are located in Indonesia. As parrotfish eat, they consume bits of coral skeletons. In the fish's digestive system, the shell is ground into sand. One parrotfish can create up to 1 ton of sand in a year. That's pretty cool. The most venomous fish in the world, the stonefish, lives on coral reefs in the Pacific Ocean. When two species form a partnership, like the cleaner fish and the groupers described in this book, it's called a symbiotic relationship. So those are some fun coral facts for you. Don't forget about all the things they told us that we could do to help with the threat to coral. So maybe talk about those as a family, decide maybe some actions that you can take at home that might help the beautiful coral reefs out here in the ocean, because no matter where we are, we can have an impact on this ecosystem, even if it's thousands of miles away from where we live. So thank you for coming to another Nature Storytime today, and we will see you again soon for another story. Bye-bye.